Hello, Namaste, dear students. I'm Dr. Veena Shantanu, your GS mentor. Today, we will discuss the fourth act under Acts and Regulations of British. And we already discussed Regulatory Act, Act of Settlement, and Bits in the Act. Today, it's the third video that we are discussing. That is under Acts and Regulations by British, Part 3. So before going to the fourth act, we will have an overview into these acts and regulations by British in India. It's classified into two. That is under English East India Company and under Crown. Under English East India Company, we have got almost 7 acts. And under Crown, we have got, again, 7 acts. Today, we are going to discuss the highlighted ones. That is the Charter Act 1793 and Charter Act 1813. So, Charter Act 1793. This Charter Act has got 2 points to be remembered. That is only 2 points. This is the act which provisionalized the company's trade monopoly with India. That is, provisionalized the company's trade monopoly with India. That is, it has provided exclusive trade privileges and renewed 20 years. That is, company can continue trading in India for another 20 years. 1793, according to 1793 Act, it was fixed that East India Company can trade in India for another 20 years. It extended the trading period of English East India Company. That means it provisionalized the company's trade monopoly with India. The second point to be remembered is the realm of governance of Governor General increased over the governors of Bombay and Madras. That means the power of Governor General. There was 3 presidencies were there that you know, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta, and they have got governors. That also you know. But after 1773 Act, we got the Governor General for Calcutta, and this Governor General's power was even increased over these Bombay and Madras governors. These two are the points to be remembered under 1793 Charter Act. Only these 2 points. Please concentrate on that. First one, it increased the trade monopoly with India. That is, it extended the period to another 20 years. Second one, the power of Governor General of Calcutta was increased over Bombay and Madras. So next is Charter Act 1813. The background of, first we will discuss about this background of this act. The earlier Charter Act of 1793 had given the English East India Company a monopoly to trade with East for a period of 20 years. So especially now what we are concerned is India, that's trade with India for a period of 20 years. That he already came to study from the Charter Act 1793. So why this Charter Act was passed? The background of this act, main thing was the rule of Napoleon Bonaparte in France, because France has already got a rivalry mentality with England. So during the time of the powerful Napoleon Bonaparte, there was hard days for the businessmen of England. That is, he always forbade it. He always criticized. He always blocked the import of British goods into European countries, and he also ordered the same policy in every that European country which is allied or dependent upon France, and thus installed the so-called continental system in Europe. Continental system in Europe is a short note or essay for your world history also. So under his continental system, it was made strict that no country under who is dependent on France, or no country who is allied with France, should import British goods. So naturally, that will bring a loss to the British traders. So what these British traders did was, there's only one company who was getting maximum benefit from foreign trade. That was East India Company. Until this time, there was no problem between the traders. But now, because of this Napoleon's policy, the other British traders can't, the other British traders was concentrating their trade in Europe, can't trade in Europe anymore because of this Napoleon's policy. So what they did was, they demanded the ports of Asia and the port of that east should be open for all British traders. Till this date, the ports of Asia and the monopoly of Asian trade was opened only for East India Company. But due to their hardships, the other British traders demanded that we also want to trade with the East. We also want to be the part of East Asian trade. So please open the port for us also. And also, at that time, the theory of free trade policy of Adam Smith was getting very popularity in Europe. According to this trade, Adam Smith is saying that we have to end the monopoly of English East India Company in trade with India, because then only, if other British traders should also be encouraged to do trade with East or especially India, then only British commerce and industry will flourish. This is a theory by Adam Smith, that is theory of free trade policy. Free trade policy means anyone can trade. Any British trader can trade in East. Any British trader can trade in India, China, etc. Now, so they demanded. One reason is hardship due to Napoleon's rule. Second reason is the Adam Smith free trade policy. And what was the reaction of East India Company to this particular demand? And East India Company, obviously, they will oppose these arguments, giving logic that its political authority and commercial privileges cannot be separated, because they have got some political authority in India, they have got some commercial privileges from the crown, so it cannot be separated. The controversy was later resolved by allowing all the British merchants to trade with India under a strict license system. So, what you have to understand is, till this date, East Asian trade trade with India was allowed only for English East India Company. And this particular monopoly or particular privilege was even extended by the previous Charter Act to 20 years. But during this 1813 Act, because of the Napoleon's policy in France and also the Adam Smith theory, free trade theory, the other traders also demanded to perform trade with India. And even though East India Company tried to oppose this particular policy, particular demand, this controversy was later solved by a very fair treatment by British rulers. That is, all the British merchants are allowed, along with East India Company. Thus, everyone has equal right to trade with India under a strict license system. So now it comes to the key features of Charter Act 1813. The first one is end of monopoly of East India Company. That's now you are very much aware of this, because they have got the monopoly previously, but now every British traders are allowed to trade with India. So definitely the monopoly of English East India Company will end. Next was the permission to Christian missionaries to work in India for the spread of Christianity. They have utmost power to work in India for the spread of, even they can work in army camps to spread Christianity. And the third heading is other provisions. The key features are end of monopoly of English East India Company. Then second one is permission to Christian missionaries. And third, there is so miscellaneous points that I kept under other provisions. Okay. So now the most important points are end of monopoly of English East India Company, straight with India. Um, especially with the East, and then permission to Christian missionaries, and third is other provisions. The other provisions are, the company was asked to keep its territorial and commercial accounts separate, because they have got some administrative accounts, they have got some commercial accounts. They should be kept separate. It can't be mixed. There's also a provision that company should invest 1 lakh every year on the education of Indians. Okay, that's the importance of English education, because only if Indians know English, then only they can communicate with us, that is with Indians properly. The third one is empower the local governments to impose taxes on persons subject to the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So the local governments was given the power to impose taxes on persons subject to the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Whoever come under the jurisdiction of Supreme Court, they will get taxed by the local governments, and the local governments were given the power. And next important thing, for the first time, explicitly, it was defined the constitutional position of British territories in India. Constitutional positions of British territories in India. Previously, we came to know that from a particular act, it was confirmed that From now onwards, there is only British possessions in India, no East India Company's possessions. If you know the answer, please comment it on the comment box. Which act was that? That is, it was confirmed that there is, from now onwards, there is only British possessions in India, no East India Company possessions. But in Charter Act 1813, the constitutional position of British territories in India was confirmed. Okay, this is an important thing. The act also empowered the local governments in India to impose taxes on person to punish those who did not pay them. Okay, so the local governments has already got the power to impose taxes on persons who are subject to the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. But if they did not pay the tax, then the local governments have the power to punish them also. So these are the provisions: end of monopoly of English East India Company, permission to Christian missionaries, then other provisions. Under other provisions, it's very important that for the first time, explicitly define the constitutional position of British territories in India. So what are the drawbacks of this act? Nothing substantial was changed in terms of governance in India. Yeah, there was nothing useful for the common man here. That is the Indians, not only the common man, everyone here. But we can say only one plus point for Indians were, that is for the first time explicitly defined the constitutional position of British territories in India. The act also empowered the local governments in India to impose taxes on persons and to punish those who did not pay. This was the only thing that is beneficial to India or Indians. But rest of them was the political matters of that end of monopoly of English East India Company, permission to Christian missionaries. Those are all the personal or political things of Britain. It was not concerned with India. Even though this permission to Christian missionaries have brought long-lasting effects in India, but for the time being in 1813, it was only related to these particular British things. The only thing that mattered India was this constitutional position of British territories in India was fixed. So there's a question that first time explicitly defined the constitutional position of British territories in India through this Charter Act 1813. How come this is possible? This is a question for you, it's a short note for you. If you want me to correct your answers, you can send mail to me. Okay, so hope everyone is studying and staying safe there. Thank you for watching. All the best.